Belly, I'm going to start with you. This is an issue of math, right? Explain the ADR process, where we think they're indicating right now they will price, and why this would be the biggest first-time U.S. share sale by a foreign entity.
Yeah, so at $149 per ADS, that equates to, call it a 3% premium from where shares closed at in South Korea on Thursday night for them. The math works out because every ADR equates to 1/10 of one share. So there's your math problem there for you, Ed. One thing to keep in mind, we did report and break that this was a deal that was over 7 times oversubscribed. Small number at the headline, but when you look under the surface, nominally, that's north of $160 billion in demand. Similar to what we saw for Cerebras, again, would be a record-setting and will be a record-setting listing for a foreign issuer here in the U.S., so outpacing Alibaba, but falling short of Saudi Aramco's domestic listing. The big question going forward now is, do they stick to that price, and how does the stock trade relative to those South Korean shares? As you know, they normally will trade in terms of ADRs at a premium, so pricing it at 3%. Do we see that get closer to double digits? Certainly something top of mind.
SK is going to raise between $26 and $28 billion for a reason, Bloomberg's Ian King. They need to boost capacity. But the history here is really important. SK Group bought Hynix in 2012, and at the time in the memory landscape, maybe they weren't taken seriously. Bring us forward to present day and explain where SK sits relative to Micron and, of course, its domestic rival Samsung.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a rags to riches story. This is a company that, was in trouble and was quite likely came very close to being bought by its competitor Micron, and Samsung refused to buy it as well. I mean, it's come an incredibly long way. And if you look at it from the investor perspective, we've got revenue tripling to more than $200 billion this year at an 80% gross margin. So, it's come so far and done so well.
Ian, every memory chip also starts with a silicon wafer, and big news story this morning was Micron boosting its US investment to $250 billion from $200 billion, so it's $50 billion more. But it's a bigger story about re-onshoring capacity. Explain that to us.
Yeah, I mean, the big story really, and this is what ties SK to Samsung to Micron, is how much capacity is going to get put in place, but more importantly, how quickly. There's no doubt that demand is very, very strong right now. Nobody is saying that over the next 2 years or so that we're going to be in anything like balance or an oversupply. But this is an industry that's never got it right over the long term. They've never had a market like AI before, but they've never been able to balance those things. So really what everybody is focusing on is how much gets spent when. And if we see a massive flood of that $250 billion getting deployed in the US very quickly, then that is something that investors will pay close attention to.
Very specifically, we're talking about Hyde bandwidth memory, and later in the show we're going to get the analysis from beyond that. Very quickly, Bailey, what happens next? The mechanics of this US ADR listing.
So we'll start trading tomorrow at some point, like a typical IPO, so it won't start right at 9:30. We'll see a bookmaking process. The interesting thing to keep an eye on, it's going to trade under a different ticker on Friday than relative to when it is formally listed on Monday. Again, keeping a close eye on how it trades out with that premium relative to those Korean shares.